Welcome back to Let's Talk. On today's show, we are revisiting a classic game and moment from 2003 when Manheim Central football earned their one and only state title. Now, so far, we've heard the perspective at the game from a player's point of view. Now, let's talk with the coach that was the mastermind behind that team. Let's welcome to the show former Manheim Central head football coach, Mike Williams. Coach Williams, thanks so much for coming on Let's Talk. This is a very exciting moment for us.
Oh, good. I'm glad. It was quite exciting for us, no doubt about it. Probably the most exciting thing in my coaching career happened.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about it. But, of course, we want to catch everybody up. You actually retired from head coaching in Manheim Central 2014. You had an impressive 348 career wins there. And you still kind of help out with the Barons in the fall. Would you mind telling everybody just exactly what roles you have over there these days?
Well, I do more than help out. I think my week is, I put about 40 hours a week into football, and mainly right now I'm coaching the wide receivers, and I'm special teams coach. And I take both those jobs very seriously. And I put, like I said, it's good I'm retired because I don't know if I'd have enough time to do the things that I do as an assistant coach.
All righty. Well, thank you for doing that. We appreciate still seeing you on the sidelines over there. But it's time to take you back down memory lane. And it has been 17 years since Manheim Central finally got over the hump, won the PIAA state title in 2003. Do you ever give yourself a moment? Do you allow yourself to kind of drift back to that game and reflect on all the memories?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm usually a guy who thinks ahead. Things that happened in the past, they're already done. So I don't think about it too much. If you can see the background of where I'm sitting, I have kind of a man cave where I'm presently located, and we do have a little section of that still has some state championship memorabilia, but I don't reflect on it too much. I mean, there's too much going on, too much to look forward to, and too much to do for the present program that, events like this where you ask me to talk about it are fun, but I don't dwell on it. It's like you said, 17 years ago, a lot of things have happened. Great things have happened since that time to Manheim football and to myself. So, but I do, it's nice. I'm going to reflect a little bit today. So hope I don't bore you.
No, we are very excited. And of course, everybody talks about the weather conditions for that day. It was in early December 2003. Can you kind of tell us what the weather conditions were like for that day? They are legendary. And for those of us that weren't actually there to experience it, could you kind of describe, what you guys were going throughout the course of that day?
Well, first of all, we didn't have school that day because of the snowstorm. So I can remember meeting in the gym with several of our administrators that they were trying to find out if we're actually going to play the game or not. And I'm thinking all along, there's no way in heck that we're going to be able to play this football game. But as it turns out, the PIAA, in their infinite wisdom, said the game will go on. I guess Pine Richland had already come in from western Pennsylvania, so they were here ready to play. And as it turns out, it was probably a great decision because fans on both sides that were there and fans that were watching it on TV saw what I perceived to be one of the greatest high school football games in Pennsylvania high school football history. Two remarkable teams playing in conditions that were unbelievable and great plays made by each team. And we were happy to win, but it was a shame for Pine Richland to lose that game. It was just very, very exciting. Great, like I said, great effort on both sides by two teams.
They did mention in the broadcast, in the telecast, that maybe there was some thoughts of if it went to a triple overtime or beyond, that maybe they would just kind of call the game and declare co-champs. How would you have reacted to that if that would have happened?
Well, that's an interesting question because you ask, 50% of people said we would have never allowed the co-championship, and the other 50% said, hey, a state championship is a state championship. So I look at it, I'm glad we played and I'm glad we won. That turned out for the best for us. But talk about the weather conditions. Okay, so we're playing the game. So our bus is headed to Hershey and we have to detour because there's an accident about 4 miles outside of Manheim going to Hershey. So we had to work our way back, get on the Pennsylvania Turnpike and go to Harrisburg and then work our way from Harrisburg to Hershey. which took an extra amount of time. And of course, they said, well, we're going to give you some extra time. But as it turns out, we got there, walked out on the field, looked around in awe of the snow, and they said, hey, you have about 25 minutes. So we didn't get much time to get ready. But in essence, that was a good thing. Didn't have much time to think about all the bad things that could happen. And so it was good we got started.
You were up against a pretty good team. Pine Richland had just some absolute studs on that team. What was your confidence level in your squad before the game, and did you have any kind of like special message that you gave to the guys before you went out there to play?
Well, I think we were fairly confident. This team that of ours was really special, and I'm going to say this, and it sounds pretty astounding. We didn't have a bad practice the entire season. Now, I think almost every football coach will tell you that at some point practices are lagging, depending on maybe you just won a big game and you're playing a lesser opponent the next week, and you just can't get your kids up for practice. But we honestly, we remarked numerous times coming off the practice field, we just had smiles on our faces because we had a great practice. And so we were confident. But by the same token, you're talking about the Whitfield playing against the winner of the Whitfield Conference, Pine Richland. Obviously, we know the history of the Whitfield Conference and their success. But we just felt that the way we matched up, we were undefeated, and so were they. I think it was one of the few times in 5A where you had two undefeated teams with outstanding records. So we had the confidence, but obviously we knew we had to play a good game, a tremendous game to win. And of course, the snow conditions, you just what I imagined, being kind of a little bit negative. You imagine the ball being slippery and flying all over the place, and it's going to be one of those things where the break here or there may cost you or may actually win the game for you. As far as the message, the same message we gave them every game. You practiced all week your best, play your best out there, and we'll let the cards fall where it may. We love you guys for the hard work and effort, and now we're going to have some fun. And we said basically go out and have some fun in the snow.
Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, it's very unique playing those conditions. A lot of the guys that played in those games have remarked that it was just absolutely wild. And the game itself was crazy too. Back and forth lead changes. I want to fast forward to the fourth quarter. You guys were down 22-18, and the clock says 11:32 when you start that infamous drive on your own 16-yard line. You go down and eventually score the go-ahead touchdown. What were you thinking at the start of that drive? I mean, it's a pretty important moment in the game.
Well, I think obviously you may not get another chance to get down there and score. We had to score. If I'm not mistaken, that was we actually scored on fourth down, I believe, in that drive.
Yep,
I think
yep.
Jared Moyer, in my opinion, made one of the greatest plays in our history, our football history. During my career, I can think of about 4 or 5 plays that were remarkable plays that really turned things around. And I say they were some of the greatest plays in Manheim history. 4th and 10. And I think we were in a kind of a no-back set, and Jared was looking around.
He's got a man open in the corner of the end zone. Didn't see him and throws for the touchdown anyway. Through to the second option.
He found Ryan Huber in the end zone on 4th and 10 for a touchdown, which really was the difference. Had we not scored the game, I think Pine Richland would have won the game. But we scored, as you say, to go ahead, and that was such a big play. Without that play, who knows?
Yeah. Well, so it was a very methodical drive. 14 plays. You guys march down the field. You get into the red zone. It's 4th and goal from the 10, as you said there. Do you remember the actual specific play, or can you give us maybe a general sense of what you had told Jared to do there that eventually led to him throwing across his body into the end zone and scoring that touchdown?
I think it was one. I don't really recall the exact play, but I think it was a scramble play. I think the play was set and it didn't work out, and we just kind of it's one of those things where Jared had good vision and found Ryan in the end zone. After we protected him, he scrambled a little bit and found him. So That's what it was. I found that was the I found Ryan in the end zone play.
Oh, that's so good. All right.
I mean, it was a design play, but you know how it is. It's snowing. You got snow in your face, and
Yeah.
not everybody's open. You have your footwork and your timing, and you want to throw it, but it's not there. So we ad lib a little bit,
Yeah.
and that's to me what it was.
It worked out so well. You guys head into overtime then. What was going through your head when you headed to overtime? Because overtime is pretty much anybody's game at that point. What were you feeling?
Well, actually, I think we were pretty well prepared. You know, we had an overtime playlist, and when you get to the playoffs, it's in fact part of my coaching career. I don't even know at that time whether ties were still accepted. And at one point, they were accepted, and then you had to go into overtime. And I can't remember back in 2003 whether you automatically went into overtime for every game, but we certainly in the playoffs had plans for overtime. So I had two basic scripts, one for the first overtime and one if we needed it for a second overtime. So I felt confident. We were prepared, but it's like anything else. Now the heat's on. At any given moment, you could be the state champion or the runner-up. But like I said, we had a plan.
All right. Well, you executed it because you got the touchdown in the first overtime, and you get the touchdown in the second overtime. Pine Richland, they answer every single time, and they go for the extra point to send it into triple overtime. And boy, the play of the game, the play of the state championships happens, and Sean Wilt comes through there and blocks the kick. When you saw him block the kick, or maybe you heard him, or I'm not sure exactly the situations that happened to it, but when that happened, what was your reaction to the whole thing?
Well, prior to that, I was already preparing for, we had, like I said, we had two overtimes planned, but now we're trying to come up with plays that we want to use in the third overtime. But I can still vividly in my own imagination hear the sound of that thud of the ball hitting Sean's hands. And it was, it's blocked. Yeah, it's blocked. So you first of all, your brain tells you that the kick was blocked. You may not believe it at first, but it's blocked. And then you finally realize that, hey, in an instant, it's over. But it was, again, that you consider Sean to have made maybe one of the greatest plays in our history. However, his team helped him out, because anytime you block a kick, whether it's a PAT field goal or a punt, it's a team effort, because somebody has to do something to help you get free. But Sean made the play, and I'm thinking, hey, what are we going to run? And all of a sudden, bam, it's over, and relief, and people are going crazy, and guys are making snow angels and jumping up and down and lifting me on the shoulders. And so it was just chaotic at that point, but it was one of the most unusual feelings I think I've ever experienced in my life, as far as so much pressure, and 1 second later that pressure is relieved, and you have reached a goal as a coach. The team has reached a goal. We've reached a goal for our community to celebrate after so many tough losses in the state playoffs. We finally reached the pinnacle. And so I think I was so much more happy for our community and for what it meant to them than I was more than happy for myself. I didn't even think about myself. I thought back when they did kind of lift me up on the shoulders, which is a really cool picture, which I have. Yeah. If I do this, there's right somewhere behind me, but anyway, forget that. But I was more happy for the kids in the community than I was for myself, because I've had so many tough losses, and my tough losses were experienced by our community, who gave us so much support.
Yeah. What a weight off your shoulders that must have been. It must have been just such a freeing feeling to you. I have one last question before we let you go. Sean Wilt says that he had a special jersey that he had promised to give you once you guys won a state title. Do you remember the story behind that jersey and how it made you feel?
Well, obviously Sean was first-class individual, and Sean meant like so many players on that team were just first-class young men, and for Sean to do something like that, just tells you what kind of a person he was at that point. Came back from an injury to score a touchdown, and one of our touchdowns in overtime, and then blocked the extra point to win the game, and went on to the Navy and done some wonderful things there too. So it was a special moment for sure.
That's awesome. I'm glad that you guys had that. Obviously, the game special in and of itself. Coach Williams, we can't thank you enough for coming on Let's Talk, reliving the memories, and just sharing it with us and everybody out there. We really appreciate it.
Well, I hope that everybody, every other coach in Lancaster Lebanon League could experience what we experienced, win that state title. I don't know. It's not going to happen this year. It's kind of hoping that Warwick maybe could go to the title game at least, but hopefully it's a great maybe LS will do it. It's a great experience for any program, any coach. Second to none. It's what you work for, and in our case, it's what our community worked for, and all the players that came before that state championship team. Even those losses, those tough losses, still were all part of why one day we ended up being state champions.
All right, thank you so much. Take care, Coach.
Okay, very good.
What a show. We really dove deep into that magical game for Manheim Central all the way back in 2003. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Thanks to Sean Wilt and Coach Mike Williams for sharing their memories. Thanks to you for watching at home. Now, next time we return, it'll be on to the winter athletes. And for now, I'm your host, Chad Landers, asking you to come back again for more conversation on a brand new episode of Let's Talk.